In today's video, we're going to talk about virtual pinball machines, the different types of virtual pinball machines that exist, and what you should look out for when you're purchasing one for yourself. All right, so real quick, left to right. On the left side, you have a virtual pinball machine that's kind of a hybrid between a virtual pinball machine, a standard virtual pinball machine, and then a MAME cabinet that also plays video games, arcade video games. As you can see, this thing has arcade controllers. So let me go down there and show it to you from closer up. There we go. So you have your controls for virtual pinball in the front here. And then of course you have your gaming setup up here. What that results in is, well, first of all, a smaller screen. So here you have only a 42-inch screen. And also you have lower resolution, so it's a 1080p screen here, not a 4K screen on this unit. And there is no force feedback built into this cabinet, meaning that you don't feel the ball roll around. You do not feel the interaction with the bumpers, the slingshots, nothing of that nature. So it's a pretty static unit. It's not like it's no fun. It's just not top of the line when it comes to virtual pinball machines, and we recommend against it, honestly. Very few people purchase this. It's only meant for people that have absolutely no room in their home and do not care to have the real pinball experience, the feel of an actual mechanical unit in digital format. Now the one here, the one that's next to it, which is our Ultra VP, the one that says Star Wars on it, and the one on the right, I kind of put two of them next to each other to show you the belly of the beast as well. And that, on the other hand, is a truly DOF full force feedback enabled unit. It has police beacons, it has a topper monitor, it has strobes, it has flashers over the top of the play field, as you can see here. I mean, it's a gorgeous 4K screen. Same here on the back, you have a 1080p back glass screen, your full color DMD here. There are LED strips underneath the cabinet that are game controlled, right? Unlike the unit here on the left, which, as you can see here, is cycling colors only underneath, and behind it is also, it has LEDs in the back of it as well, as you can see here. But you need to use this remote here in order for that to work. Now on the Ultra VP, as you can see, I just started one of the tables. It's actually the Batman table here. You can see what it does. It actually lights up the cabinet with a kind of purplish purple here underneath, but it also does it. Let me see if we can show you this on the back, right? So you have the LED strips all the way around here, and that is also then activated. So let's talk about the size of the cabinet. A lot of people out there that are in the market for a virtual pinball machine do not realize this, but the majority are only 43-inch screens and do not provide enough room to go edge to edge and create a full-size cabinet experience that is truly as large as an actual mechanical unit. So if you're going to sit them next to each other, if you're going to purchase something that is smaller in size, it's not going to fit, or it's not going to be true edge to edge like this particular Ultra VP. You can see what I mean by edge to edge. It starts here in the very corner and it goes all the way to the top very corner. So these are high definition 4K LG industrial screens that we're talking about here. This is what I mean by industrial screens. You can see that this has a metal backing. They're made to last longer and are just in general, they have IPS quality screens, so very, very bright, and you can see them clearly from the side and from the front. The unit we have here in the corner on the right is also a full-size cabinet, but it's what I call a standard virtual pinball machine. So you'll find them out there, they're cheaper, and with good reason. You know, they have absolutely nothing other than a few screens and a computer. So you're literally playing a video game. Even though it's a 4K screen, you just end up with, it's mounted flush against the glass. And there's nothing to them other than the actual picture. You will not feel the ball rolling. You will not feel the bumpers, the shaking. There's no shaker motor. There's no gear motor, nothing to make this unit appealing and make it feel like a real mechanical unit in digital format. So if you want the full experience of a virtual pinball machine, we would suggest steering away from standard virtual pinball machines like this one, or the one that's a hybrid over on the left here with the game controls, because you're really not going to experience pinball the way it's supposed to be played. Whereas these two units in the middle here are fully DOF enabled. They have game controlled lighting, and let me take you through some of the other features that these cabinets have. You can see here on the inside, these are the controller boards. The controller boards are talking to the software constantly, and literally when the ball hits a bumper or the flippers, you will feel that with these contactors and solenoids in here. You will also feel the rumble depending on what happens. This right here is a shaker motor, and that thing will go off. You can adjust the intensity on that on a good unit. You will have a digital plunger. See, this here right here is your plunger, and it has the ability to pull back, and it's going to be measured immediately by the software. So you'll see that happening when you pull back. This is what I'm talking about. So if you pull back the plunger, you can see that happening right away on the screen, right? And you can adjust it to your liking for the skill shot that you need to execute. Also, having a 4K screen gives you details like scratches on the ball. See here? Now, of course, let's talk about a few other issues that are super important. Let's talk about nudging. The nudging capability of this. Let me see if I can actually demonstrate this. All right, so nudging, meaning if I actually physically push the cabinet, you can see what happens to the ball, right? The ball is literally nudging. It's moving based on my physical touch. Another feature of a good virtual pinball machine is having a real tilt bob. So as you can see here, this is a physical tilt bob, and it's on an on-off switch for those of you who don't want tilting to be switched on, but it will tilt the machine just like a real mechanical unit would. Many virtual pinball machines out there do not have an extra ball button like this one, okay? So this is important. A lot of tables require it. If they ask you at the end of the game if you want to buy in an additional ball, if you don't have that button, you can't do that. Let's talk about the sound on these machines. So some people decide, okay, we will build virtual pinball machine and we'll just take Logitech subwoofers and stick them in there in the body just like they are made, without encasing the subwoofer. In other words, they will cause issues over time because of the vibrations of that subwoofer. If it's not enclosed, then you're going to have some of the components either will rattle loose or will be damaged because of all of the shaking. A good virtual pinball machine, like the Ultra VP here, has a box literally built underneath the computer. You can see right here is that square box where it starts and it goes all the way across, and then the PC is literally sitting on top, and that box literally has the subwoofer built in. This is what the subwoofer looks like facing downwards, and above it, like I said, is that encased enclosure that prevents any vibrations from affecting components on the inside. Let's talk about soft shutdown buttons for these Windows-based virtual pinball machines. Oftentimes that is neglected, whereas here on the Ultra VP you have a soft shutdown button and USB ports on the front here so that you can access your PC easily if you want to do some programming of your own. That's very important, and once you have this then shut down, at that point you will have access to your physical on-off switch here in the front underneath the cab, if done correctly, not behind the cabinet but in the front. On the other side here, this is missing on most virtual pinball machines. They do not have on-off switches for these various peripherals. The Ultra VP has an on-off switch for the rumble, meaning the solenoids and the contactors, It has an on-off switch for the shaker motor if you don't want it on. The LED strips that are underneath the cabinet and behind it, as well as the flashers above the playfield, and then of course your physical tilt bob can also be switched on and off. All of that from the front side of the cabinet, so easy to reach, just like the soft shutdown button and the power button in the front here. Also, button size on the front is important. You know, if you're going to go with small buttons, you're going to have a hard time finding them when you are actually trying to add coins or start the game or launch the ball. This here, by the way, is a launch button and a plunger, because some of the cabinets here require the launch button to play. Like Attack from Mars doesn't even have a regular plunger, so you will use the launch button. Also Star Trek, so those are important features. The extra ball button is an important feature, we mentioned that. And now let's talk about these flashers above the playfield. Right here you have flashers that are game activated. So if I launch the ball, what you're going to see is, you see how it's actually activating it during gameplay. So whatever it is you do, these flashers will be game controlled. So each game will use them a little differently. Some table like Ghostbusters will use a lot of green, maybe some yellow and white flashes. A table like the Tales of the Arabian Nights will be very colorful up on top, right? Now the 4K screen, of course, again, super detailed. It literally kind of gives you a 3D feel. Another important aspect of purchasing the right virtual pinball machine is to ask if they have 7.1 surround sound. Meaning, do they have additional speakers besides the subwoofer that I just showed you and these two speakers on the outside? Do they also have them mounted on the inside of the cabinet right here in the back of the cabinet? So 2 of them on each side. And do they have bass kickers built in underneath the front and the back of the cabinet? What that does is it will enable what they call SSF, spatial sound support, meaning you're going to literally feel the ball move up and down the play field when you play. When the ball hits rails like this that are metallic in nature, you're going to hear the metallic sound move up and down the play field because of those speakers they're really called transducers, those speakers. They're also known as exciter speakers. So they're not going to stick out. You're not going to see the speakers here, but they're mounted against the wall of the wooden wall, and the sound emanates, its full sound, full spectrum sound, emanates through the cabinet itself. And when it comes to the bass, when the ball actually drains here, having a bass kicker underneath will make it feel like the ball is actually draining. So again, very important. Ask those questions when you purchase a virtual pinball machine if you want the latest and greatest and the most high end. Let's talk about the flipper buttons. As you can see, we have 2 flipper buttons here on the outside. One is your primary flipper. This one is your MagnaSafe button. This also acts as a fire button. So if the virtual pinball machine is properly built, you want to make sure that there is a secondary button here. Oftentimes it's better to have them laid out like this so people do not mistake the primary for the secondary when they try to play. So this is the ideal configuration. Now something to notice is that on the inside, you can see this one. This is this one has a leaf switch. So when you hit this, sorry about the it's not very, let's see if I can see. Yeah, so here when you push this, there you go. See, this is a leaf switch that actually activates like this. That will actually be much faster in terms of reaction time than if you go with just a normal micro switch like this. For the secondary buttons, the MagnaSafe buttons, a standard micro switch like this one is going to be more than enough. But if you're going to build a good quality virtual pinball machine, then you want these leaf switches to be activating so that it's much faster, no delay whatsoever. Of course, PCs, the specifications of PCs are important here as well. What type of graphics card you use, what type of Intel processor you use, all of that makes a difference. But at the end of the day, we're only talking about playing virtual pinball here. We're not playing the latest and greatest, you know, Call of Duty games. But so it's less important to go full high end, but it's important to have something that is beefy enough so there's no lag and that the frame rate is high enough to be appealing to the eye, which, you know, I would recommend 60 frames per second minimum. Let's talk about the beacons and the strobes up on top. So there are different types that you can obviously find. There's this type here. You have your strobe in the middle, and then you have these Kojak looking versions up on top as well, which we recommend actually. The beacons go off at different times during the game. In fact, they activate quite a bit more than expected. Like on a game like Attack from Mars, which I personally didn't expect to use any of this. They go off on Star Trek, they go off on obviously Rescue 911, but a whole lot more of these tables are actually utilizing these beacons. Now on a cabinet that's well built, you should have an on-off switch for those beacons and strobe, all right? So I recommend that whatever you do, wherever you shop, make sure they have that on-off switch. So this is an example of where the sirens, or also known as beacons, can be turned off on the inside of the cabinet. And the knocker, which is mounted right here. This is a real knocker that is basically mounted inside the cabinet. You'll hear that knocker go off either when you add coins or when you win a free game. Again, also on an on-off switch. This is the back of a good quality DMD. Again, industrial quality. Same here with the top monitor. And then here's the control board for the topper monitor that some people choose and others don't care for that much. That's the topper monitor I'm talking about that will activate certain topper screens that move around depending on game. This is what that would look like, and that's how it's encased on the Ultra VP. So overall, it's a matter of quality as well, right? You have to make sure that the legs are sturdy, that the paint job on the legs is great. Like, to give you an example, this is a powder coated finish here. It doesn't show any dirt, any smudges ever. And these legs are super sturdy, so there's nothing, you know, when you push the cabinet around, it's not gonna deteriorate over time. That's important as well. The fans that are used inside of the cabinets, it's important that these fans are quiet fans that are upgraded to a good quality fan. So if you're going to go out and purchase somebody's virtual pinball machine and they haven't done all the due diligence to upgrade the components, the monitors, all the things that go into a machine, you're going to end up with fans that are going to be very noisy and extremely annoying actually. And airflow is very important. So you want to have fans at the bottom of your machine, pushing the airflow into the machine, and then some on the back that pull the air out, so that there's constant airflow for the computer that's in here, that's sitting right in the back. So I think that kind of gives you a good overview of what you should know when it comes to virtual pinball machines. Oh, one more thing. The glass here on top of your play field, make sure it's not tinted, right? I mean, you do not want to interfere with the vibrancy of the colors, and that's also something that a lot of people don't realize, that sometimes, depending on where you go, that glass could be tinted. Another aspect of virtual pinball machines, if you look around and you find companies that build these, sometimes they don't have a real lock bar here, right? I mean, what you want is you want to have a mechanism like this, where you can open up the front, and then there is a handle right here on the side. I mean, find it right here. This handle, you can move up and down, and when you do, you can see how that opens and closes the mechanism here. So the lock bar goes on there and is a full-sized lock bar, edge to edge, that matches the side rail properly here and can be removed easily so that you can clean the glass, you can open it up and tilt it open if you need to work on it, just like this. It's also nice sometimes to pay attention to details. So depending on what artwork you want for your cabinet, whether it's a piece of artwork like this one, or like this bad boy, anything that you want to put on there, it's nice to see that companies have colored legs and a variety of different options available, like the silver here, or the red, blue, green, yellow. Most customers typically go for the black powder coat, but depending on the type of machine and the type of artwork that you want to put on, like a Star Wars design like this one would be nice with chrome as well. But don't forget that chrome, you are going to see smudges a whole lot more, so pay attention to that. The last aspect of purchasing a virtual pinball machine that I want to discuss today is the artwork itself. So some of you are interested in recreating an original machine just like it used to be, so a design that was on one of the original machines. That's certainly available, but not all designs are available through the majority of manufacturers, so something to consider. If you want your particular design on there, you may want to consider working with us here and the Ultra VP, or custom designs. You know, like I said, I know it's a little dark in here right now, but this is a good example of a custom design where we took a variety of different backlash characters from various pinball machines and kind of made an ultra mega pinball design. It's much more colorful if I were to shine light on this, but this is also a different version of this, so you can see you have your different characters from various pinball tables here. And we are capable of creating pretty much any design out there, sports teams or even your corporate logos, anything that you want to put on there. We've done it, and we are of course capable of helping you with that. So I hope this whole video helped you understand what to look out for when it comes to virtual pinball machines in general. We would stay away from these hybrids because they don't have the quality, they don't have force feedback, they're just there to kind of be a mix of a main cabinet. If you want a main cabinet, this is what we would recommend. Something like this, or our large 43-inch cabinets with interchangeable control panels that can have light guns, spinner knobs. This is a spinner knob, and so on and so forth. So thanks for listening. I hope this was informative. Let us know if you have any questions.